Here goes. Broadcast is live, Billy. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun show. We're going to have a good time.
Fantastic.
There's no scoring. There's no points. It's beautiful.
Everybody wins.
Everybody wins. We all start with the A. We just have to keep it. Like in school. Oh, I know this point very well. Dave Weinbach gets hit in the face. Right in the head. Incredible shots. And the fellas to the back of us are not very well known like the other two guys are, but and here it comes. Boom. Nope, he saves another one. Boom, off the head of Dave Weinbach. Hey, Jeff, what a great clip, huh?
Amazing stuff, right?
Great clip.
Well,
I thought it was you and Billy on the court. I wasn't sure who it was.
Well, I think that's a great way to start our show tonight. So welcome.
Yes.
Welcome to the Ask Coach Mike show. And tonight we have a special guest. I've been looking forward to this. Bill and I had kind of reached out a couple of weeks ago, and we had a few other guests, but we're blessed to have serial entrepreneur and lifelong pickleball player, Bill Boone, with us tonight. Just a great friend and somebody, ironically, who I met in a spa in Cancun, as I remember.
You have.
So
didn't know that story.
No, well, it's a great story, but we don't have time.
Another show.
Exactly. So, Bill, welcome. Thanks for climbing on tonight.
No, Michael, Jeff, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Well, this is, like I say, a special show because, I don't know anybody that has played the game as long as you have. So let's start right there. Let's start with Coach Mike's favorite question. How did pickleball find you, and how many years have you been playing the game?
Wow, it's crazy because, when you get out there and play, most people say I've been playing a couple months, a year, 2 years, 3 years. And, you get surprised when they say 4 or 5. And I just was thinking about it before I jumped on here and realized this is celebrating the 50th anniversary of playing pickleball this year.
Billy, you started when you were 5?
So turning 60. So I'm pretty sure I was 9 when started hitting the ball around.
No kidding.
And I actually, sent Jeff a couple of the photos back then. So just share that story real quick. It was just my mom happened to really must just be in that class of all those people that created the game and started playing the game. So, my mom's 91 and she went to the University of Washington, and in that same class, there was the Congressman, Joe Pritchard, Barney McCallum. And, there it was 1965 and they're in their backyard. This is a backyard game, and this is how the game took off. And there they were creating the game. And it wasn't more than just a couple of years later that we live really just a mile down the street from them. And this is, Jeff was asking about this earlier. This is out in the country. It's a hour ferry ride out of Seattle. We're in a gorgeous place. And this is where people spent the summers. So this was just a fun summer game. And that first court that they built 2 years later, my next door neighbor built what might have been the second court. It was early on in the first handful of courts that were created. So it just so happened that our next door neighbor put one in. And, as you know, pickleball is so easy to learn, and tennis was real popular in our family as well. So we just played it every night, all summer long. Now, it was interesting when the game started. It's identical. They got it right. It was magical. They called it the penalty zone. There was no such thing as the kitchen. I have no idea when someone created the name the kitchen, but it was called the penalty zone, 7 feet up front there. But there wasn't a lot of dinking and all the strategy of today. It was just a fun sport. And how it spread is similar to today. And one of the main reasons why it spread so quickly around Seattle is that people didn't have room for a tennis court in their backyard. This was a game that spread 100% from people just having parties at their house. And half the people, didn't play tennis or any racket sports, and they start playing, and 10 minutes later they're having fun, and they're hitting 10, 20 shots in a row. My wife's a perfect example, because when she started playing, she had never ever played any sport in her life, and I was trying to teach her tennis and going crazy, and got her out in the pickleball court, and I'm not kidding, 10 minutes later she hit 20 balls in a row. And that's pickleball. It's people get it right away. So it became really popular at these parties that people had at their home. And then they said, hey, I can fit a pickleball court in my backyard. We called it a sport court, because people put it in their backyard, because at that time people had a party, and people used it for badminton and volleyball and pickleball. But pickleball became the one that everybody talked about. And that's the reason why they put these sport courts in all over Seattle. So I sent you guys too this great article that my mom just recently found and dug up out of an old box from 1975, and talking about how the game's exploding, and now there are over 100 courts around Seattle, and just talking about, they talked about it the same way we talk about it today. Just people, could learn so quick and have a ton of fun, and it just got really addicting and took off.
So Bill,
things haven't changed a lot, have they? It's still addicting. It's still taking off. And Billy, I have a question, because somebody brought this point up to me, that the Pritchards mentioned in the video, there was a really tall friend of theirs that was coming into the net too close, and they wanted to keep him back. And they created that, not non-volley zone. What was it called then?
Penalty zone.
The penalty zone. Did you hear anything about that story, or were you? True story.
Yeah, no, that's we didn't. I was pretty young at the time, so the origination and everything, all the stories kind of came about through my mom, and that they early on they created that 7 foot, and everything's exactly the same today. Originally, though, we did have a doubles line on the court, because you had it in badminton and you had it in tennis. And so they eliminated that not too many years later. And then the first 2 courts were just really small. There was very little space behind them. So you could serve with 1 foot in. And other than that, nothing's changed. So the game's exactly as it was. That Duraball is the original pickleball. Even the ball's exactly the same back then. I mean, that technology is the only technology that hasn't changed. We had a lot of fun making our own paddles. We got 1/4-inch plywood, cut them out, exact same size as the paddle today, and you would just sanded them down, and that's what everybody played with.
How about sneakers, Billy? Converse?
Well, the 2 photos I sent you guys, we played. It was a summer game, so nobody wore shoes. We just ran around the court having fun.
How great.
That's fantastic.
Classic stuff.
So, thinking back, did you play other sports in the summer, or was that pretty much it? Yeah,
a little bit of everything. Tennis definitely became real common. Real popular in our family and we had a tennis a park just down the street. So a little bit of everything: baseball, badminton, volleyball, croquet in the yard, all that stuff.
Wow, that's fantastic. So I know you're a kid, when you started playing in your, early teens, 10 years old. Did you ever think it could become what it's become today? Oh, no, not anybody's wildest dreams. That it was just this fun backyard game. We never, nobody ever took it super seriously. It was just a great thing to have when you had a party, because it was easy to introduce people to it, and it was a lot of fun. And it was amazing that I think it was the late 80s, early 90s, and my mom sent me an article from, I think it was USA Today, and said, "You're not going to believe this. There's like thousands of people all over the country playing this game of pickleball." And, I read the article and went, "Oh my gosh, this thing has exploded." And we had no idea it just had taken root and spread so quickly. The funny thing is today it's become this great, here I am in Naples, and arguably the pickleball capital of the world. And
70 courts, hundreds and hundreds of people every day gathering together. Still back in Seattle, it's kind of that backyard game because, there's no place to build that community of courts and people coming together. So they actually, there are some communities where they play inside there where there's 6 or 8 courts and they can get together as a community. But, I've never seen anything that it's the most social sport in the world. I've just seen it help people in so many aspects. And especially during, this tough year with the COVID, it just helps people so much. It's a game that I've introduced hundreds of people to the game, I think, and seeing them introduce tons of people to the game and just seeing it change lives. I've seen people's health dramatically improve in a lot more levels of just getting exercise.
So true.
Wonderful. So when you left the Seattle area, you went on to college. I know you've lived in Europe, you've lived in Nevada, and a few other places. Did you leave the game behind for a while? What happened as far as you playing? I mean, was it offered in Europe, for instance, or anywhere else?
No, I was there in the early 90s in Europe, and no one was playing pickleball. Moved back to Seattle and then moved out to Lake Tahoe. And it was just funny. And no, I didn't play it seriously. It was still just kind of a thing. When I go back to Seattle, friends would get together and have a beer and we play a little pickleball. And it was still kind of that social backyard thing. And then in Tahoe, the local tennis center, I was playing a lot of tennis. And that's where I was trying to teach my wife tennis. And that's a mistake. It's just leave it to Michael, the pro, to teach your wife. And so I was pulling my hair out, and then I saw that these people set up a temporary net on the tennis court for pickleball. And I went, oh my gosh, how cool. There's people around here playing pickleball. And that's when I got back into it about 6-7 years ago. And then my wife just she never, ever picked up any racket in her life. So she had no hand-eye coordination, no depth perception.
She sure does now.
And now she's a strong 4-0. She's playing tonight with 20 other gals, and they're having, I know they're out there having a blast. And she took a bunch of food down there, and it's just wow to see her, come around so quick. Well, in 10 minutes, having fun hitting the ball in her first night trying it. Whereas in tennis, after 2 or 3 days, no fun at all still.
Good point.
That's a great story. So you haven't been in Naples that many years, and a lot of people would say it may be as good in Naples for pickleball as anywhere else in the world. Did that have any influence on you moving to Naples? Obviously, it's a beautiful city and an amazing place to live.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm sorry, Jeff.
No, I was just going to say, was that part of your decision to come to the sunny southwest of Florida?
Yes. I had lived in Sarasota before, so I love the Gulf side of Florida, and you have some good friends there. Two friends there that I actually introduced to pickleball when I moved back here just 3-4 years ago, and now they're spreading it, to all of their friends around Sarasota. But Naples is, such a gorgeous area, good schools, and so the pickleball definitely had an influence. Tell you a funny story there. So we moved here, we started playing pickleball again every day in Lake Tahoe, and saw it spread from that one court. We had 13 tennis courts. Well, they ended up setting up 4 temporary courts on the one tennis court, and it was a battle, of course. And now I got the update just a couple weeks ago. They've now taken over 3 tennis courts and built out, a bunch of gorgeous. It's the top pickleball facility in all of Lake Tahoe, Incline Village. So it's spread like wildfire there, to where they now have, it's gone from just a couple of us playing 5 years ago there to they have 60, 70, 100 people every day. But Naples, that was definitely the influence. And now that I've been here, I tell you what, when we moved here, though, I had some really good friends in Sarasota. We didn't know anybody in Naples. And within 2 months of playing pickleball, I ended up having a party over my house with 35 people. And we're all like best friends. it was just like, wow. I mean, it's just a way to know everybody in town. And it's, the other interesting thing I see about pickleball, I played a lot of basketball all my life.
Mm-hmm.
People relieve a lot of stress, and, basketball is not a calming, relaxing, it's pretty intense, and it doesn't bring out the best in people. And, tennis is pretty good, but pickleball is just amazing. 99% of the people, they're just relaxed. They're having fun and so complimentary. I've just never seen anything like it. And, I'm just not surprised it continues to spread to, I don't know what, 6-7 million people now across the country and growing like wildfire.
It's global, that's for sure. It's not just the States.
Exactly right. So I'm sure in the 50 years you've seen some huge changes. What would you say are one or two of the biggest changes? Obviously, you said the court hasn't changed. So what of the rest of it has changed?
The cool thing about the pickleball is, it's not, other than just the popularity and people realizing just how fun and addicting it is. Really, the biggest thing is it's gotten a lot funner. Because in the old days we didn't really know all the dinking strategies, and today, like that point you showed to kick off the show, that's just classic. That's pickleball today. Back then, pickleball was just kind of like slamming around and play. And today it's just so much more artistic. And my best match ever, I think we lost 13-11, but we had like 4 or 5 points like that one you showed. Wow. And I just remember it, like yesterday, because it was just, when you have those great long points, and it's just so much fun. And you see people doing that. I think the best part, today, how easily you can, somebody be walking by, and what is that game? That's pickleball. I'll come and try it. What other sport can you do that, where somebody's walking by in the public park and wondering what in the world is this sport everybody's playing, and they come on and everybody wants to help them learn it, and 10 minutes later they're hitting the ball and having fun. Wow. It's just, that's only in pickleball.
It's true.
Fantastic. So, with that in mind, where do you see the game headed? Major sponsors, bigger purses for pro tournaments, Olympics?
Yeah, all of that's going to take place. It's, you see now Nike and a lot of those people wanting to jump in the game. It's getting out there, and I know one of the reasons why it spread real quick is because you don't have to wait for people to build these outdoor courts. They can just, like in Lake Tahoe in the wintertime, we set up temporary nets in the gymnasium. Now you battle with the people playing indoor hockey and badminton and volleyball and basketball and all that, but it's amazing. We were able to set up 3 temporary nets inside a gym, and I know that's one of the reasons why it spread so quickly across the country, because people could do that. And then you think about across Europe and across Asia, this game's going to move very quickly. It'll have to take root much more across the rest of the world before the Olympics take a hold of it. But there's no question, it's heading for the Olympics.
Fantastic. That'll be exciting to see.
I got to share a real quick story. Michael, sure. You came over and visited a little over a year ago, right before we all got shut down, and
right.
The U.S. and got a chance to do that. You can never stop learning about this game. And I did a playing lesson with you at 7:30 a.m.
I know. I remember.
It was great. You are a fantastic coach.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Really, within a few minutes of playing, you picked up something I was doing. As I was hitting my forehand, I was lifting up on my toes a little bit, standing up a little bit, and you jumped right in there and shared that I got to get a little bit more grounded, and it stuck with me.
Good.
There were 4 or 5 great tips, but that one made the biggest difference, because I was able to get a hold of that forehand and have much more control as I got more grounded.
Well, Jeff was doing something similar, and we got super glue. We just put it at the bottom of his shoes. It kept him on the ground.
Well, it's funny, Michael. Somebody, when I was out playing, somebody said, "Oh yeah, I got a great lesson from a coach of mine." And I said, "Who's that?" He said, "Well, it's Coach Mike." And he said, "Sit on the couch. Sit on the couch." So meaning, stay down at the net and
Sure. Use your body.
bend those
Absolutely.
knees. So great
Now you
advice.
guys are taller and you have a little bit further to go up and down, but it also the advantages of having those long arms and long legs. And if you're not using them, that's really what you wanted to be able to do. And Jeff's starting. I mean, I can see it already. I haven't seen Billy in a long time. I have to come over there, Billy.
Yeah, absolutely. Look forward to it.
Yeah.
That'll be wonderful. So Bill, on your way out, let's close with one more question. I know you play some tournaments at a high level. I know Lily plays some tournaments. Your wife. What do you enjoy most about playing in tournaments?
It's like as I mentioned earlier, it's just such a unique sport, and just how friendly. It's competitive in a tournament, but boy, just 99.9% of the people are incredible. They're all trying to call those lines fair, and they're just very complimentary. So it's a fun competition, very social. And I think that's, just another reason why these tournaments have taken off, and the U.S. Open just finished here, and, a couple thousand people joining in.
Sure.
And the greatest thing about it is you can play at 5-6 different skill levels. So beginners can play in a tournament. I'm turning 60 this year, so I can play in 60 over bracket. And there's 5 different levels, the 60 over. So everybody can play at their level and see if they can compete and become a champion at their level.
Sure.
That's
They even
awesome.
have super seniors, older guys like me, Billy. You're catching up, though. I think I'm not going to get any older. You're going to have to catch up to me, Billy.
All right, I got to share a quick 30 seconds on that.
Sure.
Just picking up the game again. I'm in Reno, Tahoe. And so I want to go down and check out the competition in Reno, about a 30-minute drive down from the lake. And I go to this rec center. And that day, it was just a lot of beginners and intermediates. And it was definitely one of the funnest days I've ever had, just playing with them, socializing with them. There were 4 people right about the age of 85 playing that I played with that day. I was like in shock. Now, they weren't moving real quick, but they were keeping the ball in play and having a lot of fun. And it just hit with me that just, boy, people can have so much fun at every age. It's getting a lot of seniors back out. The young people are joining in the game. And as I said, it has a lot of people out there, the anxiety and mental challenges, going on. And I was sitting next to a guy playing one day where, he shared how pickleball literally brought him out of depression, him getting out and playing and socializing, and that it just had a dramatic, so I said pickleball is it's a lot more than just about exercise and fun.
That's fantastic.
Billy, I agree wholeheartedly. We always talk about that pretty much in every single show, how it's not just a sport. It changes people's lives. You just gave another example. Here's this guy that's maybe a little bit depressed, sad, who knows, whatever it is. And all these things start going away because they're too busy thinking about, I'm going to pickleball, I'm moving, I'm feeling better, I'm not drinking anymore, I don't feel depressed anymore. Oh, and I met a girl at the courts. Whatever it might be. You know what I mean, guys? It sometimes one thing triggers to another thing and to another thing. And even as we're playing, we talked about with Jeff, very often you're doing so many different things and you want to focus on just one. Just one thing, and that one thing clicks, all the rest of them start falling into place. What a great story, Bill. That's perfect. I love that. As a matter of fact, my uncle is retired from the military 40 years. He's a physician, and I just spoke to him. I'm going to have him on the show. He gained 80 pounds during COVID.
Wow.
He was sad, watching TV 12 hours a day, eating all the wrong foods. He got into pickleball, lost 80 pounds. He's off of 4 meds. I'm going to let him tell the story, but I mean, there's so many of those kind of stories, not just about who won the gold medal, who's making all this money in pickleball, who's the new paddle company. It's what's it doing to your life? What's it done in someone's life very close to you, right? And we all have those stories, all of us. Love it. Great story, Billy.
Yeah, and just think about, you're the one that introduced that person. Someone else introduced someone else that had that same kind of, positive.
Sure.
It's powerful.
I know, Jeff, I'm going to tell you something quick, just because I'm fortunate to know Billy. Billy's the kind of guy that would go to the court where the beginners are, and they're a little bit nervous about coming to that other court where the stronger players are. And Billy's the kind of guy who would go over there and say, no, it's going to be fine. Come over, play with me the next game. He'll bring them in, and they'll realize, well, it wasn't so bad after all. They're intimidated when they see the speed of the other game. And then eventually you come back and they're playing with that group all the time now. You know what I'm talking about, guys. You too. You guys
all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think back to when I started 2 years ago. I started in January of 19 and played on the 3-0 courts. And then, I looked over to the 3-5 courts and I'm like, ooh, I don't know.
What do I have to
Maybe,
do to get over there,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Maybe I'll sneak over and see if I can,
By mistake, let me go in there for a butt whooping, right?
right. And now it's like, whoever, let's play whoever wants to
Yes.
play.
Yeah.
Because
I know both you guys have learned, we all start in the same place in the beginning, whatever the sport is. And then when we start getting stronger and stronger, we feel a little bit more confident, we get a little bit stronger and stronger. It's remembering these people where they started and, be a helper, go over there, go to them and say, you know what, let me help you with this thing that you're doing. Those are the people that change the sport, that are willing to not have to only play with the guys at their level because you guys have to go play over there. No, come in and join us. And that's what changes the sport, I think, personally, because I know you guys well enough to know I don't really care who's on the court. I'm going to play my game. They're going to play their game. We should have fun regardless of the level. And when you guys are now stronger players, you should be able to be at that point where it doesn't matter who's on the other side of the net, right? You start playing your tactical and your technical part of the game, and you're a little bit smarter and maybe being more controlled. And other people are now on the fence watching you guys instead of you being on the outside of the fence watching them. Remember that, because it happens all the time.
Well, I had fun a couple of weeks ago. My daughter was here, and she and I played together. We went back to the 3-0 courts, and she's only played a couple of times. It was
Right?
fun.
Absolutely.
They picked
Absolutely.
on her, but it was good. It was fun.
I know you guys don't know these kind of people. I'm trying to think of the politest way to say it, that are wound up a little bit maybe too tight. And the game and the points are so important in their life. And when you get to that point, like Jeff just gave a great example, I'm going to go play on those courts I used to play on. I'm not too good for them anymore. And you can really be helpful. And now you're coaching people, and it feels good to give back. Right, Jeffrey?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, Bill, a question came in from Patrick, and I think Patrick Guest is in, let's see, I think he's in Michigan. He's obviously here in the wintertime, but he's back in Michigan. And he's asking when we're going to see you on the Senior Pro Tour, Bill.
Whoa.
All the pressure on. Well, Patrick's an amazing player, and I got a chance to play with him quite a bit through the winter here in Naples. And so, hey, Patrick, glad you're here. Yeah, well, I'll have to definitely have Coach Mike over a lot more and practice.
Yeah.
And, more importantly, Mike said it, way more exciting than winning a medal on the Senior Pro Tour
Right.
is helping that newer person on the court have a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
And just keeping that ball in play form and getting them a lot more action and getting them those long rallies going and just watching their eyes light up. And that's a gold medal.
Great answer.
Wonderful. Well, Bill Boone, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for climbing on. We so appreciate you and what you've done with the game. I will post that article down below this recording, so people can get to see what pickleball looked like in the 70s.
No, and all of Billy's hair too in the picture. Isn't that you in the picture? I can joke about that.
Yeah, me too. All right. Well,
Thanks so
again,
much for
Bill.
having me. You guys are fantastic. So much appreciate.
Hey, Billy, big hugs to your wife, please, okay?
I will do.
Thank you
we'll
very
see you on
much.
the courts real soon, Bill.
That sounds great, Jeff. Thanks
All
so
right.
much, Jeff.
All right.
All right,
take care.
Michael.
I'll see you in Naples.
All right. Bye, guy.
All right, Coach. It's good to have you on. I've got a few questions for you as we.
What great story Billy had, though. I did not know that. I've known Billy for a long time. I didn't know how far back he went in pickleball. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's exciting, and I was certainly glad to have him on.
Yeah.
So let's pick up a few questions for you.
Sure.
And if anyone that's watching has a question, you can post it to Facebook. Hopefully next week we'll be on YouTube as we get the channel verified, so we'll be able to invite those that aren't on Facebook to watch us.
Great.
So, in your opinion, Coach, who do you think excel at this game? Are they tennis players? Are they, former athletes or athletes, ping pong players? Is there, if you could mold somebody to be great at this game, what might be their background?
Well, you mentioned a few different sports. So think of the benefits of a tennis player, what they do, how they play, their anticipation, the benefits of a ping pong player, how quick they are up at the net. And then think of that badminton player who's got that fast, you can't see where I'm going. So all three of those sports combined, each one of them offers, let's say, a head start for someone that's starting pickleball. And people that love driving the ball more, let's say the rippers, are more of what I would say the tennis players. And the more controlled, softer people, I think, come from the badminton and the ping pong. So it's the combination of all three that makes a complete package. And you're seeing a lot more people driving the ball. But I can just tell you statistically from nationals 2 years ago, there are people that track and trace every shot. I'm sure everyone that's listening knows this. And if someone asks you this question, Jeff, on the third shot, would you say that 90% of the pros did a drive or a drop?
Drop.
Would answer, you would say a drop. But a lot of people that are new to sports say, oh, of course they drove the ball. I ripped the ball. I would have ripped it too. But the answer is not a drive. It is a third shot drop because it's at that level. I mean, they're unattackable when they come over the net. And people don't know that are new. Newer folks, rip, 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 kill, kill, kill. Give me that ball like 6 feet in the air so I can just crush it, or 8 feet. And I know when you first started, you're like, please pop it up because I'm going to rip the skin off that ball, right? And now you're like, I'm loving dinking, Michael. I love to dink. I can dink all day, Mike. I always tell somebody, let's practice dinking. And that's how you're starting all your warm-ups is dink, 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 dink. Where do you spend 90% of the game? Up by the kitchen. What did we learn it was called? The penalty zone.
I love that.
I didn't know that.
Gonna have to
But
use
I
that
did hear
terminology.
that story. I don't know if it was a video that one of the Pritchard's friends was just so tall that he'd rushed the net and no one had a chance. So they wanted to keep him back, and then they made that zone. So, Jeff, all of those sports can give somebody a head start for different reasons.
Sure, sure. Well, it'll be interesting as some of the other cultures who are good at, some of those sports get more involved in the game and to see how
Sure.
it evolves, and
Right.
it's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah. There'll be more.
So I know there's been a lot of discussion about the two major rule changes this year, the
Yeah.
drop serve and the non-let. What do you think about those two rule changes, and do you think they're here to stay?
And again, from my little bit of experience in this sport, for a lot of people that might say, oh, I have the yips, that drop serve could help them. And you have to learn how to drop that serve properly. You don't want to drop it too close. And you should have someone helping you get started. But if you can get rid of missing serves with a drop, 100% do it. Right. Secondly, the let for the pros, I would think is a big mistake. Having said that, a lot of the pros can put the ball pretty much anywhere they want on the court. And could they be hitting the net on purpose to maybe get 7 let drops? And, we're way far in the back of the court because these pros are hitting the balls fast. So by mistake, if I hit the net and it drops over 6 or 7 times in a game, how would that make you feel, Jeff? Happy? No. Like again and again and again. So me personally, for the pros that I spoke to, no one's a fan of that shot. And when you play in most of the bigger tournaments, anyone other than a pro, the let serve goes. And it's taken over when the pros are playing. So you can see that just one quick thing, even a ball makes a significant difference in the game. You know that as well as I do. And I don't have to mention the names of the ball. It's not important. But when you're forced to play with a ball that you don't play with for financial reasons, it's frustrating. And that rule with the net is another frustrating rule because, like I said, if you could hit that net and just make it go over that's 4 or 5 free points. Just doesn't make sense to me. Next question, sir.
Well, didn't I, to take that a little further, did I
Yes.
hear correctly that at one point, at some of the pro tournaments, the ref would actually hold on to the net to see if they could feel a ball, just touching the net as it went over. Is
I,
that true or no?
I haven't heard that. I don't know if it's true or false. I know that in the tennis world, there's an electronic thing that goes off, and they know it's a let when it hits it. So it's not a question of whether or not it did hit the net. In pickleball, it's pretty obvious. Evidently, if you're playing with temporary nets, it's so obvious to see. I mean, very often it might hit the net and just come right back. Whereas the cord inside a tight net, they'll just click and pop over. So that's another thing. The nets do make a difference
Agreed.
at the tournaments or
All right, so let's go a little bit further. What change or what would you like to see in the game? Maybe it's not a rule change. Maybe it's just something around the game. If you could make that change tomorrow, what would it be?
me personally, none of it really affects me. I'm not as involved with going to 20 tournaments a year, but we're realizing a lot of the pros do speak with each other. Their ratings. A lot of the players, let's say 2 years ago, were very high level 4.5s and should be 5.0s, but they didn't get pushed up for whatever reason. I don't make those decisions. And now here's these 5.0 players playing against 4.5 players. And the 4.5 players know it. Hey, the last 2 times I saw you, you guys spanked us pretty bad. I thought you would have got moved up. And there's a lot of changes going on. And now there's the World Pickleball rating system. There is a lot going on. People know about it. It is an issue. It's being addressed. And ratings would be one of the things. If I could change it tomorrow, I'd change it. So it'd be more unison across the board. I mean, there's a lot of 6.0 players out there. You know that.
Sure.
Maybe there's a handful of them, but would you want to be a 5.0 player playing against a 6.0? It doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense. But
It doesn't. Especially, after you invest a lot of money going to a tournament, maybe you
yeah,
don't have the sponsorship that the 6.0 has, and
correct.
you're two in barbecue, as we used to call it in
2 and
softball.
barbecue.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, I don't want to bring it up in this conversation, but my first large tournament, there was heckling going on. And to me, it's just so disrespectful to the pros that are playing. And they always joke around and say, well, when you're winning, you're playing, and when you're losing, you're drinking. And it was a shame to watch it. It's pretty embarrassing for those guys that were doing the heckling
That's
and their sponsors, which I'm sure they've heard about by now.
sure.
Yeah.
All right, so right now, I think one of the biggest events going on are the indoor nationals in
Alabama.
Hoover, Alabama.
hmm
So I know you play a fair amount inside. You have a few private places you can go to. What's the biggest difference between the indoor and the outdoor game? Obviously, elements play a factor, but outside of the elements.
There's a handful. First of all, yes, the sound, the lighting, the floor is very, very different. Typically, you're on a basketball court, shiny, slick. Thirdly, maybe the worst, you're playing indoors on what might have basketball court lines, volleyball court lines, and then there's pickleball lines, and they're all different colors. Then the fifth one, I would say, that makes it just as bad is there's always temporary nets. And in some of the tournaments, they invest in the better, higher level temporary nets, but not most, from my experience. And that changes the whole game. And to add to it, the lights that are usually in those places shine straight down on the courts, and the reflection on those shiny waxed courts make a significant difference. And in most cases, they're using a different ball as well. I think maybe I said 7 things. All right, I'm not a big fan of indoor. Now, there's indoor private courts, and they have permanent nets, excuse me. You've played it, a friend of mine's here in Stuart, Florida. It's wonderful. It's a blast. It's fun. And more of those places. There's Beach Boys. Is that near you, Jeff, on the West Coast?
Yeah.
Those guys have their own little private place. Lots of room for ATPs, a little bit deeper in the back. And more people are looking at indoor, roomy space in the back. You have your chairs and your tables and your refrigerator and your restroom right inside that warehouse-looking place. And I can see more and more people are building indoor. It happens. You're at the U.S. Open. You've invested your $2,000-$3,000 for that week, and it rains. Sorry for your bad luck. It is what it is. And I think that there will be many, many more indoor and outdoor facilities.
Well, I noticed one of the things that I haven't seen very much in this sport is that the Beer City Open, which is up in Michigan next month, they actually have indoor accommodations should there be rain.
Yes.
So that's nice to see. A lot of tournaments, if they don't play it, you're out of luck.
Right. Yeah. And you sign that waiver before you sign up. Any act of God, it's not our fault. And you can take insurance for people that are new to the tournament field. There'll always be an area where you could pay for coverage and you'll get some of your money back. That was a good question, though.
So to take that a little further, you look at
Okay.
a place like Pictona, maybe the best of both worlds, where you have outdoor courts that are covered.
So for people that have never even heard of Pictona and have no clue what we just talked about, in Daytona, actually it's a city called Holly Hill right next to Daytona. Everyone's heard of Daytona Beach, right? Beautiful, park your car on the sand and enjoy. They built with the city a facility that has, I think, Jeff, it's 8 covered courts. They're covered. On the north side of the courts, there's a big, huge building, so it's completely closed up. And in that building, they have a full restaurant, men's and ladies' locker rooms, pro shop, offices, and then outdoors, I think there's 26, maybe more courts. They've just purchased some land right next to it. Used to be ball fields. They're going to add 20 more courts.
Wow.
So that will be one of the nicest places. Yes, when it rains, you can go inside. It's not completely closed. It's fenced in, and there's windscreens. So if rain came, it could go in, depending which way the wind is blowing. But you're right. And it's a beautiful facility. It's very close to the beach. The people that are running it, very, very nice. The owners are philanthropists that went in with the city and built this. And I think there'll be more like that.
Yeah, and I think, speaking of Alabama, I think, is it Opelika? There's a facility like that that's covered. It's
I'm
an
not sure
outdoor
that
facility.
I'm not sure that one. No.
I think I've seen that posted
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah.
All right, let's just close out. If anyone
Sure.
has questions, feel free to post them to Facebook.
Yes, please. Now's a great
we'll try to
time.
get to them. So somebody in the sport, maybe they play a year, a couple of years, and they feel like they've plateaued in the sport. As a coach, this is probably a home run, out of the park question for you. But what advice would you give to somebody like that?
Try golf. I don't know. Maybe. No, I'm kidding. Listen, it happens to everyone. You get to the place where, wow, I'm doing this really well. And my suggestion would be immediately start writing things down. And I just today just did it. Group of guys, they keep playing together all the time. Same group of guys. They stay at the same pace, same level. Why? Because it's the same guys you're playing all the time. Get a fifth guy out there with everyone's names and start writing UEs. And UEs, for people that don't know, are unforced errors. And you should actually know what an unforced error is. So ask someone else to explain to you what an unforced error really is. And you start getting a list of those unforced errors and you come off the court. And then Bill and Tom, wow, they had 15 unforced errors. Some were their backhand, some was their return to serve, some was their serve. And you start focusing on, how can I change my game? Why do I keep making those same mistakes? As always, look at all the things you do really well, right? Where are my strengths? What am I really, really good at, very consistent at? And then look at, where's my opportunities where I keep making that same mistake. Why do I keep missing that easy dink? Or why am I not able to just put the ball on and whatever it might be? Slow down, chunk it down, look at the things you're doing really well, Jeff, and then you'll be able to see on paper what you're doing really well. And another real quick thing, that fifth person on the side of the court that's keeping track of your UEs, play a game called Doghouse. So much fun. What is Doghouse?
What is
Your fifth
Doghouse,
person
Coach
comes
Mike?
into the court. So Jeff is serving. Rarely it happens, but Jeff missed his serve. That's an unforced error. And Jeff has to make the sound of a dog because he's off the court now. And that fifth person comes in. And whoever makes the UE comes off the court, the other person comes in. And you start noticing who's hanging out in the doghouse, who's barking more than anybody else. And then you start noticing, what are the mistakes that I keep making? And now you need to know, where am I going to focus? Where do I need help the most? And that's what suggestion I would make if you're plateauing, if you're at that point. How come? I can't get to the 4-5 level. So the last thing I would always mention, you can go on to usapa.com and look at why they would consider you a 4.0 and what you have to do to be considered a 4.5 in their rating program. And then put it on paper, look at it, and start scoring yourself. Well, I can't hit my backhand down the line 8 out of 10 times. That's what you need to work on. I'm missing my cross courts. I'm going off, whatever it might be for you, it's different. And now you have your little scorecard of all the things that you're doing well and where you have opportunities. I never talk about negative things, Jeff. You know me well enough. You're never in the loser's bracket. You're in the opportunity bracket. And in closing this, you never lose a game, Jeff. You always win or you learn. And that's what that whole answer was about, learning what you're doing well and the things that you might have to work on. And then you'll spend more time on those. And then when you have your buddies that you play all the time, tell your buddies, listen, I don't want to play games today. I want to do these drills. I want to own it so that when you come to the court, you're going to say, oh, I can't wait to hit that shot that I was missing because now I've got it down.
Wonderful. And obviously they could come see you too, right?
Of course, anybody can call me anytime. I'll even throw my number out there right now. Ready? 772-877-1370. And you know why that number is so easy? Because I'm older and they felt bad for me. They said, let's give this guy an easy number. 772-877-1370. Yes, I have gone to the West Coast many, many times. I'll go there for 2 days and do clinics with groups of people. That's how I met Billy. But typically I'm here in Port St. Lucie on the east side. Live at a great place called PGA Verona. We have 27 courts, private community, Taj Mahal for pickleball. And there was a tournament here 2 years ago. There will be another one here. We're not sure the date. That was World Pickleball. Obviously, it got rescheduled because the same dates were given on Nationals and a tournament in Delray. So they're going to switch their dates. We don't know the next dates.
And you'll do video coaching as well, right?
Yes, actually, I just did one yesterday, Jeff. So I spoke to a guy a few times that lives somewhere in Missouri. Very nice guy. Knew a friend of mine, connected with me, and I asked him to send me a video. Just have somebody videotape you and send it to me. So we watched the video together. We went step by step, and he didn't realize what he was doing till we watched it together. And it happens all the time. You're a perfect example. Mike, I didn't realize I was lifting my leg up on myself. Yeah, you're off balance, Jeff. And then you fix it and you just start feeling good about yourself. And the more things you keep correcting, the more confidence you have. And now you start rolling over to the 5-0 courts and saying, hey, I can play with these guys. I just have to calm down, not get so excited.
Great stuff. Well,
yeah, great stuff. Jeff, thank you so much for all you do. I really appreciate you.
Well, look, before I let you go, Coach, I
Yes.
think that we need to let everybody know who's going to be on next week.
You sure? You want to do it now?
I want to do it now because I want people to make sure that next Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, they're right here listening to two of the most exciting pickleball players in the world.
All right.
So
Go ahead, Jeff.
Come on, Coach.
Well, not only are they the two most exciting people to watch, they're both women. One's much younger than the other one. You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to throw that out there and have people type in who they think it's going to be next week. I gave some really good clues. They live in Florida. That's the biggest clue I'm going to give. You guess who it is, and there'll be a gift for you on next week's show. If the first person that types in the answer sends it in, Jeff will write down the person that answered it first, and there'll be a free gift for next week.
All right, fantastic.
Okay. So we're not going to quite give it away, but I kind of told the people that are in the pickleball world know who these two people are.
Oh, we already have a winner.
That was quick.
Mike Mendez, Florida. Actually, just sold his house in Massachusetts. I think he's going to now be a Florida resident.
Way to go, Mike.
So you're going to have to set him up with something nice.
I sure will. Is Mike able to tell you where he's going to land in Florida?
Of course, Naples. Where else would he go?
Wow. Super duper. All right. So I will physically come to Naples.
Okay.
All right, Mike. So I will give Mike some coaching.
So he's right. Who are the Waters, Coach Mike?
Wonderful. The whole family, superb. They live a little bit further south of me. I'm fortunate to be friendly with Anna Lee, the daughter, we all call her Al, and Lee Waters. So Lee and Al will be on next week, and it will be exciting because they're very exciting and they are rippers.
Now, Anna Lee is how old? 14?
14? 14?
Wow.
Gosh, I hope I'm right. 13 or 14?
Well, I think I saw her at 13 in a
Yes,
tournament. Maybe she's 14 now. I don't know,
probably
but
14 now.
she's somewhere in early teens. And
Wonderful, wonderful kids. So mature and fun and funny. But
that's
she plays
fantastic.
against the best women in the world, and they come out on top often.
That's so cool. Well,
Yeah.
next week is going to be an exciting show. So if you're
Oh, yeah.
watching this, let your
Yes.
pickleball friends know because they'll want to see this. We'll be giving something away next week. I think I'm going to dig up a couple T-shirts to give away next week.
I also have some other people from another big paddleball name. I don't want to give it away because they're going to be a guest as well. And they are also donating shirts as gifts.
Fantastic. So
Great.
we're going to have some of the best pros on here. We're going to have some of the best people around pickleball.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the great thing about this show is that, you get pickleball players, some of the best in the world. We got Bill Boone tonight, who just has a fascinating story of 50
Right.
years playing this game. And I mean, I don't know anyone else who's played this game as long as he has.
This is a show of stories of people's
Absolutely.
lives, how it's affected people's lives, not just how exciting it is and how healthy it can be for you and how it can make you change the way you think about everything. And actually, I met someone just today for the first time. He got hurt with COVID so bad, he was in the hospital for a month, and they told him that he had some lung issues he's going to have for the rest of his life. Well, they were wrong. He's on the courts 5 days a week. He was depressed. He was sad. He was skinny like a pole. And you know what? He is just so happy because he's so grateful. And I tell everybody when we are on the show, just be grateful for everything because tomorrow's promised to no one, Jeff. I know you went through your stuff too. And I know you don't talk, you don't brag about it. I know you went through cancer and came through it like a beast. And look at you now. We have a mutual friend also. Mike Vaughn got to 118 pounds with his cancer. And he plays incredible sports. He's a great athlete, great guy. And there's just so many stories. This is a show of stories. Jeff, as well as again, thank you so much for doing all this. I really appreciate you.
Well, Coach Mike, you're a true star, an amazing
Thank you.
gentleman,
Thank
and
you.
a great pickleball player. So thanks so
Great.
much. And we'll see you back here again next week.
We're checking out. Thank you guys. Paddles
Good
up.
night, everybody.
Paddle up pickleball. Paddles up.